Well, hello, friends. Welcome back to Browser Hacking. Today, we are going to continue working on WPT. And let me first show you our graph here because Yelle recently changed it so that it's starting from 0 on the y-axis, which is really good because it allows you to see those little incremental changes much better. They were kind of hard to spot before when the graph was so huge on the y-axis. So really cool. And as you can see, we are making good progress day by day. So today I wanted to continue looking at some issues where we are comparing ourselves against Flow, which is the British closed source engine that is a little bit ahead of us on WPT. And I thought that we could go into a spec here that we are supposed to be doing well at, but they are still doing better than we are, and investigate why that is. So this here is the DOM parsing spec, which, as far as I know, we implement almost fully. But there are evidently some flaws in our implementation. So they are doing a little bit better than us on a bunch of these subtests. And I think we should be able to catch up and maybe even get a perfect score, or at least get a better score. So if you look at these failures here, we can see that in the DOMParser parse from string category or whatever, we have a bunch of little failures and they get flying colors. If we scroll down, we see there's also something in inner adjacent HTML and XML serialization as well. They do a little bit better than we do. So, but the biggest area here seems to be parse from string. So let's just grab one of those and we'll see that, yeah, so we have a bunch of red. Bunch of subtests are red, but most of them green, but they're all green. So if we want to catch up and eventually beat Flow, then we're going to have to fix stuff like this. So let's investigate what's going on. Step one, of course, is to run the test in Ladybird and see what's happening. So we have 5 failures. And what does it say? It says document.url expected HTTPS whatever, but got about blank. Okay, and then all of the failures are kind of the same thing, that it's expecting this HTTPS URL, but it gets about blank instead. And what are these tests? I don't know. Let's open up the source. Okay, so it's a multi-file test, of course. Let me just make a local copy of this. Just use wget and DOM parsing. Can we run that locally? Probably need to tweak some paths here. Yeah, so it's assuming that we are running on the web server, which of course we're not, but we're almost. Let's see, would this be enough? I wonder. Okay, so now we have a local version of this test, and let's see what is going on. So I guess we should just read it. DOM parser test of how the document's URL is set. No push state, no base. Sure. So I guess all the fun stuff probably happens in the DOM parser URL tests.js. So what's going on there? Okay. Blah, blah, blah. For const mime type of supported types. Maybe we should look at the output to see what it actually says. So let's see, text HTML valid, text XML valid. Okay, so it's like testing a bunch of stuff using a bunch of different MIME types. So is it the case that it's just text HTML that's failing? Seems like it, yeah. So we have 5 failures in text HTML. That's good to know. Okay, so what are we actually testing? We're testing document.url expected. Okay, so we're expecting document.url to be something. Assert URL, sure. So is this it right here? Console.log. Checking if document URL or is checking if about blank is file blah 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 blah. Well, those are not equal, so that's going to fail. Okay, so checking if about blank. So doc.url is about blank. Document URL is not about blank because we are loading from a file. Sure. Doc comes from const doc is parser, parse from string. Okay, so we make a new DOM parser and then we parse some string and give it a MIME type, presumably text HTML, right? Yeah, that's the only one. Yeah, right. So, wait, how would the DOM parser know to... I'm just thinking like the DOM parser creates a new document by parsing the input, but at no point are we giving it the current document. So how would it know that it should have the same URL as the current document? Like where would it get the current document from? It's kind of interesting. So let's look at parse from string. DOM parser, parse from string. Okay, so switching on the type. So in our case, that will be text HTML, I guess. And then we're creating a document. What are we passing here? We're passing in the URL of the associated document of the relevant global object. Oh, interesting. Wait, let's see what the spec says about this. So let document be a new document whose content type is type and URL is this is relevant global object's associated documents URL. So we're being very correct about that, it seems like. And it also means that that's how it learns the URL. So DOM parser, like you can create a new DOM parser and it doesn't have to, you don't have to give it the document. It just figures that out from the JavaScript execution context, basically. So the relevant global object is sort of the global object of the currently executing realm on the JavaScript execution context stack, as I recall. Is that how that works? Relevant realm for the object. No, it's not from the execution context. It's from the DOM parser. Okay, so the DOM parser was constructed in a realm, and that realm has a global object. From the global object, we go to the document. Then from there, we go to the URL. Sure. But why does it still end up about blank? So we parse it, parse the HTML, and then return the document. So at this point, I would expect it to turning parsed document with URL. At that point, I would I don't know what I'm expecting. It feels like we're providing the URL when constructing it. So why doesn't that stick? Returning parse document with URL about blank. Okay. What does this constructor do? It passes the URL to HTML document, takes it in the constructor here, passes it along to document, which stores the URL in MURL. Is anybody assigning to MURL? Set URL. Who calls set URL? The parser calls set URL when you run it. Okay. So are we calling the parser in a weird way, maybe? Aha! Parser run about blank. That doesn't seem correct. Fix me. This is to match the default URL. Instead, pass in this is relevant global objects associated documents URL. Okay, so this is a known bug, apparently. Why are we doing that? Luke Warlow worked on this. Implement unsafe HTML parsing methods. Sure. So I wonder why it's like that. Maybe it's just that Luke didn't know how to get to the associated document. Start parser and let it run. Wait. Start parser and let it run. Okay, so there's no spec step that says to do this, but I think Luke is right that we should just use this as relevant global objects associated documents URLs. We will have to cast the global object to a window and then get the document, the associated document, relevant global object for this. Yeah, I think that's accurate. Okay, so what if we just do that? Will that just... Okay, that fixes that issue. I wonder if it fixes some of the other issues as well. Let's see, what were the other tests there? Domparsing. Let's try, which one were we doing? We're doing parse from string URL. Let's try URL base and push state. Okay, base works better. Oh, push state. Actually, it does a push state, so it screws up the URL. That's funny. Okay, so this seems to actually fix a bunch of issues. That's great. Fantastic. So then we just need to make a little test, I guess. I'm curious why it was done this way, because it seems like it would have been pretty easy to just do it this way, but I guess we'll discover. This seems like the more correct thing to do. So let's make a test that we can run locally as well. So that would be something like libweb. Let's make a text test input. We'll put it in the HTML directory, and we will call it. Wait, do we have a DOM parsing directory? No, we don't. DOM parser, parse from string document URL. Okay. So let's just make a simple test here. Bum, bum, bum. So I guess what would it look like if we just created a new DOM parser and then we parse from string, I don't know, HTML, be hello. I don't know, something. And text HTML, let's say. So what would this actually do? Okay, so it gives us that file URL, but we can't use this kind of URL in a test expectation because it's not going to be the same on your machine unless your home directory is users cling. So I guess what we really want to check is just that it's not about blank at this point. Or can we do like an ends with or something like that? Is ends with an API? If doc URL is about blank, println fail should not be about blank. Yeah, just fail is good. So it should end with .html, right? Pass. Okay, so yeah, we just have to sidestep the fact that we can't print out the full URL, right? But as long as it ends in .html, we should be good. So that's a pass. Cool. And I guess we could be doing the same thing for other MIME types, at least text HTML and application X, whatever the MIME type for XHTML is. Application XHTML plus XML. That's the one I'm thinking of. For MIME type in. Okay. Let's see, is this going to be good? Am I JavaScripting correctly? I don't remember how to JavaScript. Okay, that seems okay. And we can maybe, or that should be enough. So what else do we need to do? Let's print out the MIME type here. Okay. That's more like it. Yeah, for in versus for of. Const. Okay. Can we bike shed this thing anymore? Let's see if we can rebaseline it. So we want to rebaseline DOM parser. Okay. And then this is our full change. Cool. Let's make a checkout. So what's this DOM parser? Parse from string document URL. Let's call the branch that too. Web, use the correct document URL in DOMParser, parse from string. Or hard coding about blank as the document URL for parsed HTML documents, which was definitely not correct. This fixes a bunch of tests, a bunch of WBT tests under DOM parsing. Very, very cool. Okay. So I think that's going to be the end of this video. So we made good progress, fixed some issues here. And I guess we're going to see these tests improve in the next run after we get this thing landed. And like I always say in these videos lately, if you're interested in working on Ladybird and you've never worked on a browser before, digging into web platform tests or WPT, looking for interesting little problems like this can be a super good way to get started, because you don't have to start with a big complicated website to debug. You get to start with a tiny unit test that you can then pick apart and examine in isolation, which is often much, much easier. So definitely check this out if you're interested. You just saw my workflow for digging into one bug. It's very similar workflow for hundreds or thousands of bugs you'll find on WPT. So if you're interested, check that out. Thanks for checking out the video, and I will see you next time.